In this test, you will be asked to answer 20 questions in about 30 minutes, aiming to evaluate your listening skills in English. It concludes 3 separated parts. All the recordings will be played once only. At the end of the test, you will be given 5 minutes to transfer your answers to the answer sheet. Part 1. You will hear 7 monologues and dialogues alternately. For each question from 1 to 7, choose the most appropriate option A, B, C or D. First, you will have some time to look at questions 1 to 7. Now we're ready to start. Listen and answer questions 1 to 7.
Let the Right One In is my favourite film. There are 2 versions. The first is Swedish and the second American. I prefer the original Swedish version. It's a modern vampire film and also a kind of love story, but it's really unsentimental and a bit scary in places.
Well, we know all about that from biology lessons.
No, we didn't learn much at all at school. They're discovering loads more things all the time. Really amazing things. Did you know that only about 1/10 of the cells in your body are really you? The rest are bacteria.
It was Nikki's idea, but we all think it's going to be brilliant. As soon as the last exams are finished, we're going to decorate the main hall at school with paper streamers and Chinese lanterns and things.
Me and my mates are going to this activity centre in the mountains.
Oh yeah?
You can do all kinds of things. It's a new centre. It sounds great. We're going to go dirt boarding.
What's that?
It's like skateboarding or snowboarding. You have a board or deck to stand on and wheels.
Now, while you're studying, eat food that gives you energy. Don't be tempted to eat sweets or drink cola. Now, sugar won't help you study, but fruit and cereals will. Apples, actually, are especially good. Find a comfortable place with plenty of light when you study, but not too comfortable, or you'll fall asleep.
Llamas and alpacas are both domesticated animals, and vicunias and guanacos are wild. Llamas are the biggest animal. They can grow up to 1.8 meters tall. And in the past, they were used to carry things. Llamas are very sociable animals and live together in groups, in herds.
Don't they spit at people, though?
Well, yes.
Make sure the place where you are going to study is comfortable, with enough light, air, etc. Not too hot, not too cold. Make sure there are no distracting noises around, such as television. If you think you concentrate better listening to music, experiment and see if it's really true.
Now you will have some time to review your answers. That is the end of part 1. Part 2. You will hear 2 conversations in this part. Listen and answer question 8 to 15. First, you will have some time to look at questions 8 to 11. Listen to part of the radio interview about boy bands, and choose the best answer ready to answer questions 8 to 11. You will hear the recording once only. Now we're ready to start. Listen and answer questions 8 to 11.
The internet is full of articles about what makes a good boy band, but many bands appear and disappear without a trace. Alana, it can't be as easy as following a formula, can it?
No, I don't think so. The traditional formula is that you have 4 or 5 good-looking young guys with some musical ability and the ability to dance. The choreographed dancing was very important to boy bands in the past. They tended to wear the same or very similar clothes when they performed, so you had to decide on a look for the group. The most important element, however, was said to be that the band members had different and very distinct personalities.
Right, the cute one, the rebel, the joker, the shy one, mysterious one.
Yeah, although sometimes they all just seem like the cute one. The idea is that different boys appeal to different girls, so you can have a bigger fan base. There's someone in the band for everyone.
So, do you think this all still holds true, or have things changed in the 21st century?
Yeah, I guess things have changed for several reasons, partly just because we needed a change, but mainly because of changes in the media and with new technology. Take One Direction.
I've been counting the seconds before you mentioned One Direction.
Well, we have to talk about them because they're the biggest thing at the moment. Although, who knows how long they will last.
Oh, ages and ages.
We'll see.
Now you will have some time to review your answers. First, you will have some time to look at questions 12 to 15. Listen to part of the radio interview about how false information spreads, and choose the best answer ready for questions 12 to 15. You will hear the recording once only. Now we are ready to start. Listen and answer questions 12 to 15.
Circular reporting? What's that?
Well, it's basically reports which are based on other reports, rather than on the primary evidence or source. To the reader, it looks like the information is coming from several different independent sources, which normally means it can be trusted. But, in actual fact, all the reports are based on each other. Imagine a piece of false information is published, for example on Wikipedia, and then is referenced in a newspaper article or other publication. Then, in turn, the original Wikipedia entry references or quotes the article as validation that the information is true. In a nutshell, it's the confirmation of false information by more than one publication.
OK, let me see if I've understood this correctly. So, someone writes an article on Wikipedia which contains some false information.
That's right. False information which is not referenced or checked and in no way is obvious as being false.
OK, and then this false information is copied from Wikipedia by a journalist and included in a newspaper article.
Yes, or other type of article, as if it were true information.
and then Wikipedia references the newspaper article, which verifies the information in the original Wikipedia article as being true.
That's right. And sometimes it's not just one newspaper article that cites the false information. Several publications may include it, and so it becomes very difficult to prove that the original information is false.
So when information makes its way from a Wikipedia page into a published article, the article could be spreading false information without even realising it.
Exactly.
Now you will have some time to review your answers. That is the end of part 2. Part 3. You will hear a short speech given by Professor. Listen and answer questions 16 to 20. First, you will have some time to look at questions 16 to 20. Listen to part of a lecture in a history class and choose the best answer ready to answer questions 16 to 20. You will hear the recording once only. Now we're ready to start. Listen and answer questions 16 to 20.
Good morning, everybody. Today I'm going to talk about one of the most terrible wars of the 20th century. Although it took place mainly in Europe, it involved countries from all over the world. I'm talking, of course, about the First World War from 1914 to 1918, which resulted in the death of about 10 million military personnel. Despite the enormous human cost, the war did have some positive consequences. In fact, it was precisely because of the nature and scale of the horrors of the battlefield that many important medical advances were made, as new equipment and techniques had to be developed quickly to cope with the huge number of injuries. As I said, the scale of the First World War was huge. New weapons were used that were designed to kill on an industrial scale, such as machine guns, tanks, and poison gases. These produced brutal results. Many deaths and about twice as many injuries. Those injured suffered very severe wounds, and this pushed the medical establishment to build on recent discoveries and to come up with solutions for the new problems faced by doctors. I'm going to tell you about a few of these. You probably know that X-rays were discovered in 1895 and were developed for limited medical use in the following year. But their use became much more widespread during the war, when they helped detect fragments of bombs and bullets buried in tissue. They allowed doctors to extract these elements, which would otherwise have caused serious infections. Stretchers for carrying injured people had also been in use before the war, but the development of rescuing the wounded from the battlefield by sending in stretcher bearers to bring them back as quickly as possible was completely new. The modern concept of a paramedic who is able to apply first aid in the field also comes from this time.
You will now have some time to review your answers. That is the end of part 3. You now have 5 minutes to copy your answers to the answer sheet. That is the end of the listening comprehension pretest.